I didn't know how to face them again. I didn't think they were the same people I had known, and I worried for Suganda's future. The project was to create a health education curriculum for adolescent girls. We met every Sunday. It was all girls, about 10 girls in each village, and we did a variety of different activities and lessons. And it was meant to create a safe space for them the same way that the microfinance self-help groups had created an empowerment space for their mothers. Specifically, I worked with a very talented girl named Suganda and became really close to her and her parents. Her parents were particularly progressive in their thoughts. They advocated my agenda constantly to those that had questions in the village. They helped me set things up. They often even helped redirect me when they thought that I was approaching things in an ineffective manner. And they were really integral to me being useful at all that year. An opportunity arose where it looked like I could fund Suganda's education, higher education, through some donations from the States. And I waited till the year got close to an end before I brought this up. But I really thought that Komutai, her mother, and Balubao, her father, were going to be two people that would embrace this opportunity more than anybody else I had worked with this year. And I was really excited to tell them that we had this opportunity for her. And I knew that Suganda had been thinking about maybe computer science or maybe even nursing had we given her the opportunity, and it just seemed like it was going to work really well. They told me how they loved the idea of her being educated, but that this proposal had come and that the gentleman was decently well off and educated and not someone who drank a lot of alcohol and someone who came from a good family. And it was an opportunity for their daughter that they thought they had to take because they didn't know what was going to be the next option when it came to a husband. They felt like their hands were tied and that they lived in a world where their daughter's marriage and long-term future depended on who she was going to marry and what family she married into. And that at the end of the day, as many opportunities that I could offer them didn't change what their definition of a good, safe life would have been for their daughter. So this was a blow. I was angry with them. I persisted. I explained all the things that we could offer and the way that Suganda could flourish if she got an education first before she got married. I worried that she would get married and be committed to a domestic life for the rest of her life, and that would be it for her. And I left that next morning really upset. And I went back to my room, and I actually didn't go back to Tajur, which is that village, for a really long time. I didn't know how to face them again. I didn't think they were the same people I had known, and I worried for Suganda's future. I did eventually go back before my year was over because I just couldn't leave without saying goodbye. And they were relieved to see me, and I was relieved to see them as well. And they kind of pulled me by the hand into their house, and they showed me Suganda's wedding invitations and her wedding photos, and she'd already been whisked off to this town outside of Mumbai where she was going to be living, and how well she was doing and how happy she was. And they apologized in their own way. Not that they owed me that, but that is what they were doing with their conversation, to say, we know what you were trying to do and we're sorry we couldn't do better for her. And it was hard. It was hard to see them struggle with the option and choice that I gave them. I didn't realize when I went to them with this possibility that, as opposed to giving them this amazing out from the village life, to educate their daughter and let her go on to being something bigger and better, that what I'd really done through the whole thing was burden them with choice. They were telling me that we come from different worlds, that I was giving them all of the opportunity and options from my world, but that they were still constrained with the cultural norms of their own world, as much as they did or did not want to be part of it. And I think that was a huge lesson for me overall with everything that happened to me in India, but everything since, that there's so many complexities and subtleties and layers to why things are the way they are in a culture like village India, why people think the way they do. And even the most progressive person has their limits to how much they can push what's their norm and what they want for their village and their family and their children. And I think that is so important in thinking about anyone that you're trying to influence or develop, however you want to think about it, is understanding that none of it is black and white. It's not that we're right and they're wrong, that we have all these great opportunities to offer them and that they've been backwards. It's, if it were only that easy, then it wouldn't be such a challenge. And ultimately, I think they may have picked the right thing for Sugandha. I got a phone call from her before I left India, and it turns out the guy she married was particularly good, actually supported her to get an education even though they were married. And as I understand it, she did pretty well with that. So, maybe I was wrong. It's hard for me to know exactly how things would have turned out. I'm glad it turned out well, but I don't know if that would have been the case.